Okay, so Ashley Gillin, who graduated last year, is here for us, and she's visiting our class. And I would like to have Ali introduce her.
Yeah. Hi guys. I'd like to introduce you, Ashley Gillin. She graduated last year, like Masako said, in 2019 with a BFA in painting and a minor in curatorial studies. During her time at Montserrat, she was involved in a lot on campus, which have influenced her postgraduate jobs. Her postgraduate jobs included design gallery in Natick, Massachusetts, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, as well as taking on her own personal commissions. She also has a lot of recent accomplishments that she had since the new year began, which included 10 personal art sales, as well as 4 exhibitions that she curated, which that included the Art of Dr. Seuss collection, which I thought was really cool. So while working full-time as well as painting simultaneously, Ashley proves that art is still the center of her world. So now, time for Ashley to talk.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, and obviously if you guys can't see or hear me, All right, so my name is Ashley Gillin. I go by Ashley Rose Art for my personal work, and I consider myself a painter, a gallerist, and now a digital marketer. So about me, I was born and raised in Nashua, New Hampshire, and I graduated from Nashua High School South. I had loved to draw ever since I was old enough to hold a crayon, basically. And I started attending a private art class as young as 4 years old, and I actually stayed with that same private art teacher until I was 11. High school really helped to flourish my passion for art, and the summer before my senior year, I attended Maine College of Art's pre-college program. And in high school, I was president of the National Art Honor Society, where we gave back to the community through artistic means. I actually missed my junior prom to do art therapy with stroke survivors, and honestly, that's a memory that I've cherished to this day. No regrets. And then after being accepted to 4 art programs, Montserrat was my easy #1 pick. So for my early works, I honestly would love to paint things that were basically quote unquote pretty to me. And I experienced with lots of different mediums, mostly painting early on. And then in high school, I took an AP studio art class, which for those of you who maybe didn't have that at your school, it was a advanced placement program. So it was basically a college level art class. And this is what taught me how to work under pressure and make a large body of work in a short amount of time. So we had to create a body of drawings representing a certain topic, and mine was emotional isolation. So I put a couple pictures in there. And then summer of 2014, I did my first real art contest / art show back home in Nashua. And I actually did this with a couple friends, and it was like my first big art moment. So I won first place in my age group. Then a picture from my pre-college program. This is the last day, so just a picture of me with all my work I made in the month's time. And then during high school, I was in a student art show up in Peterborough, New Hampshire. So it's a picture of me at that. And also during Give Back Week, before graduating high school, I painted some murals at a couple local elementary schools. And New Searles Elementary is where I went. So let's see, this is the beginning. I just had my bio up there. Those are my early works that I had put on. That was the art show, pre-college. And then I think this is where I was. Still stuff from the very beginning. Let me know if anything else weird happens along the way.
Sure.
So my Montserrat experience, I graduated in May of 2019, concentration in painting, minor in curatorial studies. A lot of my on-campus roles included working for the gallery, campus life, admissions, giving tours, being an RA, and I was briefly an orientation leader and a bear gallery intern earlier on as well. I did the study abroad program in Italy in the summer of 2018, which was probably one of the best experiences ever. I'll talk about that a little later on. So I won 2 awards for curatorial studies, one for the student showcase in 2019 and another at graduation. And then 2 years in a row for the student showcase, I held art history-based workshops, which were a lot of fun. And then, yeah, I took over the Gallery Take 20 program in spring of 2019. So forming that into the new P2P program, which engaged students with current exhibitions. And that was a lot of fun as well. And then let's see, summer before senior year at Montserrat, I did an internship at Marblehead Arts Association. So basically recruiters from the internship visited Montserrat in the spring of 2018. And I talked with them there, which led to me applying and being hired. And during the following summer, I worked there twice a week, assisting with daily administrative tasks, gallery maintenance, and I also had 2 projects I got to work on. So one being assisting a curator plan an exhibition for the upcoming fall, which is a picture of me at the opening there. And the other project was I researched and documented the preserved archives the association had. So basically old paintings and sculptures that they didn't really know about. And then a picture of me next to this poster. Basically how this happened was Amy at the time from Career Services asked me over the summer if she could come down and just talk to me about the internship, since I think I was the first one to do an internship for the new minor. And I was like, yeah, of course. We took some photos, talked a bit. I guess I totally misunderstood what this poster was going to be. I thought it was going to be for the pamphlet that students get when they apply for the school. And I was at work one day and Jeffrey Newell was like, Ashley, come out to the hallway. And then boom, I was on the wall. I was like, that's really big, but it's all right. So study abroad in Italy. So basically painting and studying art in a different country was one of the best experiences, like I said. Plein air painting is sometimes hard to achieve with weather, resources, and time. But being outside constantly painting what I see in front of me helped a lot with my color skills. I definitely struggled a lot with color. I kind of felt better drawing and painting in black and white for a long time, but this trip really helped me. So just a couple pictures from the trip. And a couple pictures of me in my senior studio. I missed it a lot. And then during senior year in Montserrat, a picture of me at Outrageous. My avocado drawing was sold to actually someone who became a friend, so that was really exciting. And then I got to introduce the president at a donor party in the fall of 2018. And basically how that happened was Paul Kotakis, he just randomly emailed me and was like, hey, are you free next week? Do you want to work an event? And I was like, yeah, what kind of event? And he told me what it was. And he's like, I think you might be good at it. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So that was really cool. Picture of me at my senior thesis show, kind of wrapping up everything. My show was called Neochromatic. It was actually a year ago, 2 days ago. So it's crazy already. And this is just a funny picture. It's the first day I got my studio and the last day that I cleaned it out before leaving. Then graduation, a picture of Martha and I. The school actually didn't save the photo they took of us on stage, but I think one of my family members got this picture, which I actually really liked. And then for my personal artwork, so the world around me has always been one of my biggest inspirations, and my senior thesis work at Montserrat influenced and confirmed these desires a lot. I became very interested to continue photographing and then painting the intricate colors and compositions that sunlight make in nature. And I immediately continued to paint right after graduating. And up till this day, I really haven't stopped. I try to look at scenes that aren't the typical pretty, such as, let's see, across the street, you know, it's literally just the street in front of my house, but I stood out there and painted it because I thought it was interesting. But sometimes I do try to make landscapes that more so are the traditional landscape views, because I can just challenge myself and kind of paint them in the same way I would a non-traditional piece. This is what I did actually very recently. I just started experimenting, especially during this pandemic, a lot with different size canvases, different shapes. This is the first time I painted on a triangle, actually. Some more works. I painted this one over the summer, I think in like July or August. See, I don't usually incorporate architecture a lot unless it's something I can really integrate into the nature, if that makes sense. So a dear friend's home, I think we were doing laundry at a family friend's home, and I literally just thought the stairs looked pretty that day. So I just took a picture and started painting, basically how it works. Outside of nature is definitely probably my whole entire inspiration. I take all my own photos, and I feel like being out there and taking the photos yourself helps you paint as well. If I was to paint something someone else took or on the internet, I feel like it's definitely a whole different scenario. And a lot of times you don't have time to make, big paintings or even little paintings often, especially if you're out and about. So I definitely still kept up with making little studies, having sketchbooks around. The sketch from a hike, that was actually just from a few weeks ago. And I took a lot of pictures I didn't get to make paintings of yet. And then I had a trip to the Great Smoky Mountains over the summer. So I had my sketchbook, and even on a very busy vacation, I still managed to make a couple of little drawings. And now for my commission work. So I did a handful of commissions throughout college and during breaks. And even though it was absolutely a great moneymaker, I really wanted to focus on my own work at the time when I was thinking about graduating. So I started to make my own work after I graduated, but I still had a handful of people asking me for commissions. And because I love working with people and making them happy, especially with art, I honestly just couldn't say no. So in order for me to paint a lot of pet portraits, for example, and not have it devalue my own work and skills, I've just been telling clients to look at my website so they know what to expect. And I aim to paint these pieces with the same intentions and styles that I would my personal work. So therefore, nothing is totally different, and that's really been working for me. And I think it's even strengthened my nature paintings too. Because in between a lot of commissions, I do try to create at least a little study for my own personal work if I can. And the great thing too is people I've done commissions for, whether there's someone I knew in person or met over the internet, they end up following my own personal work too. And I've even had a couple people buy my own work. So a couple more pictures. A lot of pet portraits. Those are definitely popular, but I have had commissions to do some nature, which I am happy about. And then again, architecture is not totally my thing. So things like the Sensible Barn was a challenge, but definitely don't regret it. Let's see. So I only have one real event, I guess, with my personal work since college, and it was a small business pop-up table at the Wall Street Towers in Manchester, New Hampshire. So basically, the whole month during the holiday season, small businesses got to show what they do, and I actually painted while I was there too. So that was a lot of fun. And then for my postgraduate job at the Gillin Gallery. So basically second semester senior year, I started thinking a lot about what I'd be doing after graduation, since I knew it was going to fly by and I'll probably want to continue my craziness of being busy and of course make money. So I started browsing opportunities mid-February, I think it was, and I saw a posting for an art consultant needed at the Gillin Gallery in the Natick Mall. And I had never even been to this mall before, but I went down for an interview where I then got hired. And right in the middle of second semester senior year, I started to go down there once a week, every week until graduation. And I actually started working full time. I think it was just 2 days after graduating. I literally didn't even take a break. So I learned the business side of art, the reproduction, selling of professional works and fine art prints, exhibition planning, working with professional artists, and helping clients choose artworks and the accompanying accommodations for their home. And basically, when I started doing this during school, I didn't really have to change my schedule too much, which is still crazy to me. I still got my homework done, got 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night, went to the gym almost every day, and then finished senior year. So I started working at the gallery full time right after. But I did get to take 2 vacations this past year, so I did have a break. But the Gillin Gallery it showcases nationally recognized artists. So it's not local artists like people like us. It's well-established people who are in lots of galleries across the US and other countries, which was really cool. For example, the elephants and bears, an artist from England, birch trees, someone from Oregon, the landscapes with someone from the Cape. So it's really just all over the place. And just some more pictures of the gallery. And they're all paintings too. So I got lucky with that. I mean, obviously, since I'm a painter, I love working with all kinds of work, but it was really cool starting to work in a gallery that focuses on painting. And then in the summer 2019, this was in July and August, the other girls I worked with, we co-curated 2 local artist exhibitions. So we chose 2 local artists to feature and rent out a space at the gallery to, one in July and one in August. That was cool. I never really got to choose an artist to host before, kind of more on a personal level where I got to make a lot of big decisions. And then September 2019, we had an artist reception with Thomas Arvid, and he's known as America's preeminent painter of wine. He paints hyper-realistic wine bottle compositions, basically life revolving around wine. And we got to watch him paint at the reception. Just another picture from that event. We had a professional wine tasting company come too. And then in October, we had, this was a 2-day artist reception with Fabio Napoleoni, and he's a top-selling artist in Disney, which was really cool. He's probably the most popular one we have. People know his work all over the world, and basically because he creates his own characters where each piece tells a different story. His daughter was born with a little hole in her heart, so he kind of based each piece off of what he went through, going through that, and now they all mean love, hardships, becoming whole again, things like that. So it really just connects with lots of people. So that's just a picture of us with him. And he did not make live art at the reception because he was signing autographs the whole time, which definitely was cool. We got to see all these people who own his work and who just really support him. And then in December, we had an artist reception with Jennifer Rains. She is an award-winning contemporary artist. So she makes all the very textured birch tree paintings. And this is a picture of her just starting a painting, which she paints with palette knives and sponges. So that was very cool to watch. And then the last show that we had was the Cat Behind the Hat, the Art of Dr. Seuss exhibition. So this was from February to March. It was a traveling exhibition that we had for a whole month. And basically how these works exist is after Seuss died in 91, his works were discovered by the Seuss estate, and they then created these fine art prints of them to be discovered. And there's a big percentage of his works that haven't even been discovered yet. So that's basically how new releases come out, just when a new piece is discovered and then created into a serigraph, lithograph. The reproduction of them is pretty crazy, honestly. They look like originals. So just a couple pictures from that show. And a lot of these pieces become very rare over time. So for example, a couple of them are like 10 grand. The most expensive one we had was $20,000, and it was actually this blue cat right here with the tie. One of his oldest pieces, and we were only allowed to sell one of them. So that's why it was so much money. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation. I guess I really love what I do. And my motto, if I have one, I guess would be, if you really want something, you'll make it happen. So if you love to make art, keep making art. If you want to do something different after art school, that's fine too. Whatever you want to do, hopefully you all have the best resources to do so.
Thank you so much, Ashley.
Of course, hopefully that worked. Hopefully you could see everything.
These are quite fabulous presentations.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to open this up to the questions, you guys, and or comments.
There we go.
I do.
After you
Oh, there you go ahead.
okay. I was just gonna ask, like, after you graduated, was there anything, do you find yourself like inspired by the work you were doing outside of your personal work that influenced your personal work?
like something different me going out in nature, for example?
Yeah.
I feel like not necessarily, especially because it was summer and I was constantly outside. It was mostly nature. I'm just kind of obsessed with like, oh, it's sunny out. Look how pretty that looks. Look what that looks like. Obviously animals too, because I paint a lot of them for my commission work. But mostly nature is probably just still nature.
I was gonna ask, did you, after graduation, did you find yourself looking for a studio space?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of hard. What I did was over the summer, I painted on the porch of my home. I lived at home for a year. So the summer was great. We have an outside porch. So I basically set all my stuff up out there. And then during the year when it got colder, obviously, I kind of just set up a space in my bedroom. And that's how I've been working. It's definitely hard, but, you know, just kind of finding those means to do so. I'm going to be moving out probably this fall, assuming the world is safe to do so. So I'm going to have a space there. But yeah, for now, I just kind of made do and it's worked out.
I'm curious, of course, the main question about how your life is now with COVID, but really, what is your perspective on nature now? I mean, I think nature is really showing us what it can do at this moment. I think there's like there's some very heavy implications, but also some beautiful ones. I'm sure you've heard about, you know, the bears returning to all these big national parks. And of course, you probably see up and down Beverly, foxes are all back. Like, nature is kind of reclaiming the earth in some way. And I'm just curious, how your perspective might have shifted now we're seeing this full force of it, or if at all.
I mean, I think for me, since this is the first time I've really had a lot of free time, I've been going on lots of hikes, lots of walks. So it's like I'm just seeing things more openly than I have. Because a lot of my work will be kind of photographs that I took quickly, you know, walking to and from somewhere or driving down the street, getting out, taking a picture. And now that I have full days to just hike all day or walk all day, I'm really experiencing, you know, the earth under my feet. And then this is what I'm turning to paint. So I guess more on a personal level, I'm just really experiencing everything a lot more openly and freely.
Certainly, you graduated and you are sort of independent now as you work in a studio. And I wonder how you keep yourself motivated and inspired, but also in terms of critique, you're not getting the same kind of critique as you are working alone. Are there anything that you do to actually get yourself sort of critiqued or maybe evaluated? Do you actually show your work to anybody or friends or?
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep up with social media a lot because that's where honestly, a lot of people who have bought my work have found me. And then being inspired by other artists is huge for me. So just seeing what other people are doing really motivates me to make work too. And as far as critique goes, I actually keep in touch with someone I worked with at my internship in Marblehead. He used to be a professor at Harvard, actually. He taught architecture. And I actually keep in touch with him often, and he'll kind of give me critique sometimes, even though we don't make a lot of the same work, but sometimes it helps us hearing from people. And then, I have friends too who are artists, so I'll talk with them. And then obviously at work, I work with art all day, so that also motivates me. And I worked with someone who was also an artist, so we would kind of have discussions. But yeah, I mean, mostly I kind of just take in what I learned at school and what I see myself doing. It's definitely different, but I think making connections is very important, especially to keep after school. And once you make really good connections, they kind of just stick with you for a while.
Right.
Who are some of your artistic influences?
Let's see. Old masters for sure. I mean, I've always been obsessed with Monet. And actually, very recently, well, not too recently, at school, what's her name? April Gornick. I looked at her a lot during senior year, and I actually saw her work in person just completely by accident over the summer. I was at the Bachelor Museum of Modern Art in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I had no idea her work was there, but we walked into a gallery and literally the entire gallery was filled with her work. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I guess that's kind of a funny story that I didn't mention. But yeah, I mean, old masters and contemporary landscape painters for sure. And honestly, from social media, a lot of artists who make similar work to me, who are also a similar age as me, whether they're like, you know, masters or famous or not, are really big inspirations to me too.
When you mentioned your commissions, are you usually working on commissions at the same time, like simultaneously, or is it like sort of back-to-back type of thing?
Like multiple commissions or commissions
Yeah,
along
like
with
multiple commissions that you get for your. So is it like all working on it all together, or is it like back-to-back type of thing?
Yeah, I guess it kind of just depends on the time. I mean, during the holidays, a lot of people want them, so then I am working on them simultaneously. And then right now, for example, I have like 3 I'm going to be starting, so I'll be working on those simultaneously. Then other times it's just one. Other times months go by, I don't do any. That's kind of where I am now. It's not really consistent yet, so I'm going to be working towards getting there probably. But yeah, it just kind of depends on the time.
Cool. Do you find that it's helpful to work on to work in that simultaneous nature, or is it more helpful for you to like focus on one painting, or is it just kind of all over the place?
I think it is helpful, honestly, working on them simultaneously, because that way I don't get just stuck on trying to make one thing perfect. I'll make a little schedule for myself and say, okay, at this time, I'm going to move on to this one. Because that's something I really struggle with my work, is I'll sit on one thing for so long, try to make it look perfect. So yeah, having multiple things to work on, kind of like in college, helps for sure.
Yeah. Cool.
You know, you had so much to tell us about your experience at Montserrat as you introduced yourself. And I'm just very curious, what are the things that helped you most during a Montserrat years? You know, in order for you to actually, in order for you to move on to your career, your life after Montserrat.
I think honestly, just being very open with people, really connecting with the people I worked with and people I was in class with. I feel like, you know, when I was kind of bottling myself up, sometimes when I get stressed, that definitely would hold me back. So I think just using those resources, like as an RA, I would have once a week meetings, and even just talking with them about other things helped. It's just, I don't know, I really took social interaction as something that helped me a lot, just having people to talk to. And yeah, there's people there for me, I guess, really helped instead of just being on my own.
Well, obviously you had multiple internship experience and also worked for the gallery and, you know, with Nathan and Kevin. And are there any places that are actually really specifically connecting to your job, current job at the gallery?
I mean, actually, a lot of the things that I did at school really relate. I remember even just taking professional writing with Erin, and we learned how to write press releases. And I think it was for the show we had with Fabio. I wrote that press release, and I like immediately just remembered what I learned and wrote it. And I was like, this is cool. Something I did at school and I'm doing right now. And obviously working in the gallery, putting together exhibitions, it's similar to Montserrat. Obviously, I feel like a lot of them are bigger artists. So I guess having lots of job experiences where I got to learn how to talk with professionals, that really helped me not be so starstruck around these artists who are like really, really big. Yeah, a lot of the experiences helped a lot.
Great.
You mentioned that you found the opening for your gallery job online. I was just curious about like what specific website or app that you found that opening on.
I believe it was Indeed, and I mean, even during the year, I saw lots of other jobs on there too. Indeed, LinkedIn's really good too, but I'm pretty sure it was Indeed that I saw it on. And I was just open with them too. I think what I had initially reached out to them about was I was very honest. I was like, I'm graduating in a few months. I'm curious what opportunities might be available. This gallery looks awesome. And then, yeah, the owner was like, why don't you just come down and see the place? I don't mind interviewing you right now. And that's basically how it was. So, yeah, certainly there's no harm in looking early because you never know what could happen. But definitely just be honest.
I think jumping right into like the commercial gallery, it's to me, it's like I was still surprised when you first told me about this job that you got, and
Yeah,
I didn't
it's a
even
little
know you
different.
applied. I thought that was really amazing. You could, go to that directions. And would you tell us a difference between your experience at nonprofit galleries that you worked in several places, and then this current gallery, which is really commercial based?
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it definitely is different because putting together exhibitions is not like the main goal every day. The main goal every day is selling art. And I think the first thing that was different for me was, for example, when I worked at Montserrat Gallery, Nathan and Kevin are artists. So, they're artists like I am. And we were on that same kind of level. And the owner of this gallery isn't an artist. He's just a businessman who loves art. He used to own a hardware store. So it was definitely different kind of communicating with a non-artist in an art gallery. I feel like I had to kind of learn the best ways to communicate with him and to kind of explain myself, like, oh, I'm an artist. Here's what I think we should do for this. And then he might be like, no, like this is the best way to do it. So that was the first big thing. I've never worked with a non-artist in an art kind of job. And yeah, I mean, I had to learn how to do sales, how to talk to people and get them to buy things. I had never done that. So yeah, it was definitely different.
Any other comments? Questions?
What do you think has been the most difficult aspect of doing like personal work and like not being in the school environment and having that motivation?
I feel like probably the most difficult for me, I mean, definitely not having as much critique. Senior year, I would meet with Masako every week and have multiple professors talking to me every day. So that's definitely the number one hardest thing. And I guess working full time and also making that time is hard because my life immediately went from, making art full time at school to being occupied with something else during the day full time. So just finding the time. I mean, I would paint at night when I got home at like 8, 9 p.m. I would make sure I didn't sleep in too late. I could paint in the mornings. So yeah, just finding the time too is probably hard.
Anybody else have any questions?
I guess I have one final one, Ashley. So you're up in Nashua now.
Yeah.
What is your current artistic, I guess pre-COVID, but before, were you popping down to Boston often? Were you going to Portsmouth often? Like, where were you kind of getting your most direct inspiration?
Yeah, so I would go to Boston every weekend. My boyfriend actually lives there, so that's where I'll be moving in a couple months. So yeah, I've been in Boston every weekend, and I have friends who live in Beverly and Salem, so that's also why I've been in Beverly often too. And yeah, I mean, most of my inspiration, I feel like the recent ones came from trips I went on in August. I actually went to Nashville and then drove over to Charlotte, North Carolina. So we got to drive through the mountains and get out and go to the mountains. So that's probably like I had a big chunk of photos that came from there, and I started making one painting from there that I haven't gotten to go back into yet. So yeah, that trip was very big. And then obviously living in New Hampshire, I'll walk my dog, things like that. I'll see things that look cool, take random pictures there. So Nashua definitely is still a big inspiration. Hiking during this pandemic, like I said. And then I went to Florida in February, right before all this happened. And I got to take photos there. We were on a golf course, just different places like that where it was sunny. Yeah, I feel like obviously vacation time because you have more free time, but also because I went to places where I guess the weather was nice and everything. I have yet to paint during rain or fog or snow, which I really want to, but I have to build up that motivation to do so.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So, many of us in this class, color issues and advanced color workshop, some people graduating this year and some people graduating the end of this academic year and next year. And then some folks here for a few years. And can you actually give us advice or maybe suggestions from based on your experience at Montserrat?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, first off, I just feel so bad for college students during this time. Honestly, like I was just picturing what this would be like last year, and it's crazy. So I think you guys are already doing amazing for just kind of dealing with this, especially the seniors, because of everything you have to do and the accomplishments you get to do. I guess my advice is, definitely do put yourself out there to search for the things you want to be doing, but also don't be so hard on yourself. That's something I still struggle with. If you don't get to do something you wanted to do, it doesn't really mean anything about you per se. Just kind of keep trying. Don't really beat yourself down, because it's a tough world out there, not even just for art students. I feel like a lot of people kind of go through this after school where they might not find something, or they might not be happy for a bit. So definitely just keeping the motivation going and not really beating yourself down when things don't go your way right away.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think it was great to have you here, and thank you so much again for your time and visit.
Of course. Thank you again for having me.
And good luck with this, COVID-19 situations that you have right now, and hopefully you can do your work, and things will normalize again once again, and we have all happy peace again. But we'll see. Seems like you have a resilient, resilient attitude about this whole place, and situation. So I wish you good luck, and
thank you.
Continue with your work and studio work as well.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the same. Best of luck the rest of the classes. I hope everyone stays safe as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Good talking to you.
You too. Bye, everyone.
See you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.